Hi, it's Ned Franklin. This MIDI lesson is kind of unusual. I want to use Ableton Live's Max for Live MIDI effects to play my microKORG in real time, but I want to play everything from the microKORG keyboard. The microKORG has a nice feature that is missing on some MIDI machines. It's called local on and off, and it allows us to basically separate the keyboard from the synthesizer, and it's really the only way to get the Max and Ableton MIDI effects to play live from a single synthesizer. Now, I can only show you the setting on the microKORG, but it should be somewhere in the MIDI menu on your synthesizer if it's available at all. What we're looking for is MIDI local. On the microKORG, it's buried in the second rotary knob's MIDI menu. And see right here, it's controlled by knob 2 resonance, and the default setting is on. And we're going to turn it to off. So there, we're going to leave it off. And you'll notice that we're using a standard MIDI routing. I'm coming out of my MIDI interface, which happens to also be my audio interface. So MIDI out from there into the microKORG, out from the microKORG, and back into the MIDI interface, which seems like a feedback loop, but it's not. What fun is it if we can't add another synthesizer? So I replaced the long MIDI cable with this yellow cable, which is a little shorter, and then I'm going to come from the through port, and I'm going to go over to my oldest synthesizer, my K3, and we're going to go into the in port there. So now we've brought the K3 into the mix, and we still have local off, local off, local off, local off. All right, here we are. We have it already set up for our external instrument. I'm going to go ahead and delete this and re-add it so that you can see what the process is. I have a basic track set up here for the K3. The K3 I intend to use later on just to show you that we can also use the through port. I'm going to turn him off for right now. What we need is under Instruments, and in Ableton Live 9 Suite you will have a instrument called External Instruments. And this is the coolest thing. This is how you bring in your external physical synthesizers. So I've dropped that on its own channel strip. We've got the MIDI we already decided came from the Akai EIE Pro, so we're going to set that. We go down to the actual instrument, and right now he's not wired up to anything. He doesn't know anything about the synthesizer, so we're going to tell him about the microKORG. We're going to tell him to use the same interface, the EIE Pro. We're using channel 1. There's no reason for us to use another channel right now. And the audio, this is something you just have to know in wherever in your studio the audio is coming from, this is what you pick. So the audio from my microKORG is coming from audio 4. So right now I have it wired up, I have it set up, I have the correct cables connected to it, but if I press a key, it does nothing. If I make it hot and press a key, it plays a sound. Here's the cool thing, because I have the through going on, if I make the K3 hot, then I get the K3 playing as well. Now that's all a lot of fun and fun to play with, but that's not the coolest thing that we're going to do here. We are going to now go into Max for Live land, and some of this stuff is kind of cryptic. You can't really tell what some of the things do, and you just have to open them and see. I found a really neat one that I think you're going to like, and it works very well with this setup because it allows you to use a sequencer inside Ableton to control an external synthesizer, such as my trusty microKORG. So what it's called is the mono sequencer, and I went under Max for Live, and then I went under, I believe this is Max MIDI Effects, and then I grab a mono sequencer, and I'm just going to drag it onto the channel strip. And it takes it a second. Max is not the quickest thing, but it is when it's running. In a second, you will see the Max for Live instrument appear. You see it's still working, and there it is. Now, what this does right now is just play a repeated note. So whatever note I have given it, and in this case he knows that he's set to a C, whatever note has been last played, if I play a B flat, then he will decide to play a B flat. Whatever the last note that he heard, he's going to repeat over the course of these 16 steps using these configurations. It's really wild. I'm just going to go ahead and start it. It only works when the transport's running. So you go ahead and let it start, and it may be a little loud to begin with, so I'm going to watch the volume here. And that's really cool, but here's the neat thing. These are relative offsets to the note that you've played. So whatever notes you happen to have played, if you want to go 5 steps off, you just set this for whatever the appropriate interval is. For bass lines, it's really kind of cool to it's the easiest thing is just to do the octave. So that's what I've set up here, is we're set in the key of C, and we're doing octaves back and forth with the bass line. So I'm going to press a C, you'll see the MIDI command come through, but it doesn't play anything. We'll start the transport. And that's just the beginning of what it does. This strip of markers down here is used to turn the gate on and off. So if you just want something to not sound at all, you turn the gate off. It has settings for swing. It has all sorts of stuff. Something that is nice is that it will basically follow you. So if you set up a basic bass line that is in keeping with the scale that you're working with, then you will find that you can just play the scale around, and your bass line will follow nicely. It's not going to reset. It will not begin back to the beginning of the sequence. It will just pick up wherever you are with whatever notes you're playing. I'll demonstrate that now. Now, if you do want it to reset with each one, they give you a little button here that just starts it. But actually, the setting is right here. We're going to reset by a MIDI key. If you press this, it does the same thing. And then by MIDI key, it gives you some different options. There's each thing that it does gives you a different option. But since I have it set to reset by MIDI key, when it starts playing with the transport, And that is how you use local off within MIDI, within a synthesizer, and Ableton to inject all sorts of things, just about anything that you want to do with a MIDI operation. You could throw in here. You already know how to throw in audio effects, but actually being able to throw a live MIDI effect into the middle of the mix is something that I really enjoy doing, and I enjoy playing the physical synthesizers because I can adjust the filter settings, etc. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been instructional. We've learned quite a bit just making it, and check back with us soon. We'll have some new neat tips for you, and remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time.